Hello, I'm Kurt Lidke, Executive Director of Klamath Film, and you just watched The Legend of Grayson Crockett, a beautiful sci-fi look at isolation and belonging in the world in our Northern Shorts category for the Klamath Independent Film Festival. Joining us now is the director of this film, Adam Bagger. Adam, thank you for taking this time out for us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So it's my understanding that this film is based on a short story. So how did you first come across that story and how did it develop into a film?
Yeah, that's correct. I came across a short story about 7 years ago now by Samantha Vale, who is a at the time she was a grade school teacher in rural Virginia, and I was introduced to the short story through a friend who said, "Hey, you might want to check this out. I think you'd be interested." And reminded me of you. So um, I read it, immediately fell in love. Uh, and it's one of those stories that just stuck with me. I was thinking about it. I was dreaming about it at night, and that's something that I listen to when it happens, on a subconscious level. So um, I reached out to Samantha and introduced myself. It was a cold reach out. Said, "Hey, I fell in love with Legend of Grayson Crockett. Um, would you be open to working with me to translate it from the page to the screen?" Um, and she said, absolutely. So uh, we worked together, you know, 3,000 miles apart over 13 drafts. At the time, we had two false starts. We were originally going to shoot in Southern California. Very glad that didn't happen. Glad we ultimately went to Oregon. And Yeah, that's sort of the synthesis of it, and it was a 7 year journey, just getting to the point of shooting, and one that I will never forget.
Well, and it's one that kind of paralleled your career because you started out on the East Coast and
Hmm.
then came to LA and then somehow ended up in Oregon. So what was it that turned you into an Oregon filmmaker?
Wow. I think I mean I fell in love with Oregon. I First time I actually went there was for a Travel Oregon campaign that I was producing, and it's the first time in my career that I actually fell, uh, victim, you could say, to one of my own campaigns. I was sold. They got me. So uh, yeah, as soon as after the two false starts, admittedly, I got a little, I don't know, discouraged, as we filmmakers can sometimes get. Um, but the move to Oregon in search of greener pastures, both personally and professionally, um, sort of relit that fire. I started thinking about Grayson Crockett more and more, and I said, "Wow, wouldn't it be amazing to shoot in the Mount Hood wilderness in the middle of December?" Get all the crew that I absolutely love working with in a commercial capacity. Get them out into the woods to make art. And just have a good time doing it. And that's what we did.
So your film is a great showcase of some of the wilderness areas in Oregon. But for people who aren't around here, they don't realize the diversity in landscapes. There's also,
Mm.
high desert, mountains, beaches, city. So you kind of have best of all worlds when you're looking for a backdrop for a film and a setting. So as someone who has been all over the country in filmmaking, um, what would you tell people would be the benefit of filming in Oregon if folks were if you'd heard that someone asked you for advice and they'd never been there and we're looking for ideas of where to film, what would be your sales pitch on selling Oregon?
Uh, I mean, it's one stop shopping. We've seen the Southern California looks, many times over. We've seen Atlanta, a lot of the other production hubs around the country. I think Oregon is just, you know, s- just offers so many varied looks, as you said. You can shoot in the Alvord Desert, and it's better than any dry lake bed you'll find in Southern California. You can shoot, uh, the forests of Hood, and it can look like Endor from Return of the Jedi. It's you got the coast too, and the coast is a character in and of itself. Goonies. I think first time I saw Goonies, not to sidetrack too much, but I was born and raised in rural Connecticut, I didn't know a coast could look like that. When I saw Goonies, which was shot, I believe, outside of Astoria,
Hmm.
as a small child in rural Connecticut, the beach was the beach. I'd never seen anything like that, with Haystack Rock. And so, yeah, to your point, I couldn't agree more, as far as varied looks and something, it offers so many things that we haven't seen before in film. And that's what excites me.
So this film was a long time in the making. So tell me about
Yes.
some of the hitches that you ran into and the cast and crew that you assembled to finally get this production to all come together.
Yeah. So, yeah, once I finally decided, hey, I'm going to make this film upon my move to Oregon and discovering the Mount Hood Wilderness, I just started, doing what I do professionally, but on a personal level, building an A team. And, I knew casting would be so important. This is really a talent piece. Um, so, got one of my favorite casting directors on board locally in Portland. We cast in Portland, Seattle, and LA, and had some great talent locally, amazing talent in Portland. And yeah, ultimately, once we settled on the leads, we did a table read, and I could tell, you know, the magic was happening. It was time to go, and got my crew together, and we shot 5 glorious days in the freezing cold wilderness, and had a blast doing it.
The special effects in this film are really well done. It's not easy to put an entire planetary system inside a human body, but it showcases very well. Who did that? And give us a timeline here for just how much post production work has gone into getting this really great cinematic look for your film.
Well, there was about a year's worth of post, you know. Yeah, and that's it's never it's not a myth. It's true. Like yeah, the VFX were very time consuming. We had a brilliant team led by Nick Loy out of Portland, Oregon, who worked at Leica for many years up in that neck of the woods, and he formed a team under him. We had a team in India as well. Some of my go-to kind of fixers who work while we sleep, and had a fantastic editor out of Seattle, Slavka, and yeah, it was all hands on deck, and a lot of people who believed in the project, and were willing to take it on between gigs, so to speak. So it worked out well.
This film was made and was in the works long before the COVID pandemic was ever a thing. But there's
Yes.
there's themes in this film that seem incredibly relevant to 2020. Maybe just odd, fortuitous timing, but how Grayson's character endures a self-imposed isolation and a feeling of not belonging or fitting in seems very relevant in a time when people are self-imposing quarantine and are suddenly
Sure.
lacking in many of the the social circles and activities that we once regularly populated and now greatly miss. So do you think that this film has any sort of life lessons as we all try to work through this global pandemic?
Wow. Interesting. I never thought of it from that perspective until now. But I completely and wholeheartedly agree. As far as lessons, um, I think it's a testament to uh, now that life has slowed down considerably for most, if not all of us. I think I myself have taken a lot more time to uh, smell the roses. I think it's a good time to adventure safely, either solo or with the ones you love or close friends who you're not a threat to virally. Um, and I think it's just a time for getting out there and finding oneself and just taking a beat. We're inundated with chatter from multiple channels all day. And I think it's a good time to clear the head and sort of take take a push of the reset button. And I think that's, Grayson's journey is one that I can certainly relate to. Um, being on the road is one of my favorite places to be, exploring, and I think now's the perfect time for that. Absolutely. Safely, of course.
Right. Have you taken this film to other festivals or public showings, and what kind of responses have you received so far?
Absolutely. Yeah, we played Ben Film. The responses were good. Yeah, people were I think people um find a version of themselves in Grayson, and it varies, from person to person based on their life experience. We also took it to Holly Shorts in LA, where we won Best Period Piece. Um, Still a bit perplexed by period piece, but maybe because we had no cell phones, that I could have played into it. But hey, we won, so that's good. Um, but yeah, people were widely moved, and that's for me as a filmmaker, that's the best response I can get. So very very fortunate.
You've done a lot of film work, but was this your first foray into the sci-fi genre? And what do you like about working on those kinds of films?
Yeah, it was my first foray into science fiction of any way, shape, or form. I truly love this story because it's grounded sci-fi. It brings the cosmos down to earth, and I've always been really interested in that notion. I don't think I would ever do like a true spaceship film, but there's just so much mysticism and magic, I think, out there that we're barely scratching the surface, and I wanted to kind of tell that story um, using Grayson as sort of a vessel for that, the vast unknown. So that was very interesting to me because it's, on paper, it's a small story, but there's so many more larger things at play throughout, which I was, always found interesting.
In the course of production of this film, there's always behind the scenes stories, either funny moments or odd occurrences. And when you're trying to film stuff out in wilderness, you're just kind of compounding that with the difficulty of just getting your gear out
Yes.
on site. So, anything particularly memorable or funny happen? I realize your film is a very serious thing, but it can't be serious all the time, right? So, what stands out about the production of the Legend of Grayson Crockett that maybe you're like, well, that was a problem, and at the time you're freaking out, but now you can look back and laugh on it, or anything come to mind?
Wow. Yeah. Um, we just had so much fun. I mean, it was like just laughing between takes, and uh, working with, on a short film. As soon as you introduce like special effects, prosthetics, and VFX, that just like I was like, what am I doing? We had a wolf dog. We had a dog that was 80% wolf named Shay, who certainly couldn't be directed. Shay was making his own rules. Um, so that was interesting, and then of course we had the source of a wolf pelt that matched Shay, and my brilliant production designer, Jade Harris, who's Portland based and brilliant, um, found this old wolf pelt at a thrift store somehow, and we used that for the inserts with Grayson, and having practical LEDs beneath a layer of fake skin, and I'm directing, and I'm also like operating this weird LED rig, and it's all hands on deck, but it's like the definition of like, that very like tactile, the reason we get into this business,
Hmm.
like that's one thing like that this film helped me realize is, I've been at it for over a decade, and did the Hollywood thing, and now have my own commercial production company, but we should never get lost in the system, and never forget why we got into this in the first place. Uh, and that the Grayson Crockett experience for me was a complete reminder of why I do this, and it was, one of the best weeks of my life shooting.
What do you hope that people get out of your film?
Hmm. Um, I hope that it touches the audience in on an individual level, depending on your walk of life and what you're searching for, what you found. I think Grayson is a very relatable character, and what I found very interesting, from hearing responses after screenings is that everybody finds something else in Grayson. Like Grayson, I think is very much an open book. He may say like two total words throughout the film, but I think it's there's a lot of he just serves as this messenger, this vessel, and I think people are able to uh, you know get from him different things. So that's I think the experience is individual, and I can't say any one thing. For me in particular, uh, his journey is certainly one to which I can relate. In that, uh, he found his voice, he found himself, and um, it only took Tabitha to help him, bring that out. And that's sometimes we need to reach out and help others and not keep it all in.
Any final thoughts about your film that you would like people to know?
Final thoughts. Wow. I Yeah, I love the story. It's part of a trilogy. Um, I am certainly not taking on another, 26-minute long short behemoth undertaking anytime soon, especially during COVID times. But yeah, I got the itch. I'm traveling around Montana right now, looking for inspiration, and uh, it's time to balance out those commercial jobs with something a little more soul enriching. So um, yes, I will be back, and maybe it'll be extending the trilogy, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'm honored to be a part of Klamath. Thank you.
Terrific. Well, thank you for making this incredible film. And in addition to being available all weekend long via Eventive, people can catch The Legend of Grayson Crockett in person at the Ross Raglan Theater here in Klamath Falls, Oregon on Sunday, September 20th at 2:15 p.m. in our long shorts narrative block for the 8th annual Klamath Independent Film Festival. Adam, thank you so much for taking some time out, and we look forward to your next project, whatever it may be.
Thanks for having me, Kurt. It's been a pleasure.